Tatin. It's the first thing I learned how to make in cooking school in Paris. All we did is melt some butter in the pan, add lots of sugar. We're going to come back to this in a minute. Just give this a little stir every now and then. This is a Tatin pan. It's made of copper and it's lined in tin. This is one of my very old ones. You can see the finish is coming off. There are some made with stainless steel, but the old tin ones are the best. You just never want to cut in here with a knife. The apple should be peeled around because they'll hold the caramel. So when you peel these, go round and round and round. Insert the core. I'm using a firm apple and we're using Goldens. Cut the ends off so it has a little ledge to stand, another ledge on the other side, and then in half because we want these apples to stand up. We're going to make some quick crusts. You don't need to use metal ones. In fact, these little plastic ones are great because they don't hack up your counters. Yeah. And we're going to roll these out. I'll do one for the Tatin crust. We're going to do another one just for a tart tin. I want to show you how to line a tin. Now the lights are very hot here in the school today, so we're going to be using a little excess flour. Otherwise, flour is just added from the side. You don't want too much, but today we have to use more so it doesn't stick. When rolling this, begin rolling it out both directions. Like to just get a lot of flour underneath. Always make sure you have a good amount of flour. Roll back out again. The less sugar that you have in a crust, the easier it is to work with. The sugar actually creates little razor blades inside the dough. Fold it in half into the refrigerator until I need this for the Tatin. So this can just sit off in the fridge for, probably about half an hour until my apples are finished. In the pan, you want to have it overlap. To line this properly, put your finger in here and push a little layer with this hand over. So you're going to push a ledge on the inside. Doesn't look good, don't worry. Just keep your finger there, push in, push in. So I'm making a little ledge over the top, and this finger is nothing more than an anchor. All right, then press up with your fingers, thumbs on the outside, and I'm coming up just a little bit over the top of the Tatin so I have a ledge. Now this is going to chill, maybe a little fork so we can prick some holes here. We're going to let this chill again. It's very important it chills for approximately, an hour. Now if you're going to bake this blind, or if you want this to hold something as in a tart, you bake it with pie weights in here, a little bit of parchment paper. You put the pie weights in. You can use beans, but they smell really bad. So I prefer to invest in some pie weights. And then bake it till this crust turns golden on the top. Then you take those pie weights out, return it to the oven, and continue baking it. So we'll put this off to the side. All right, Beth's got this dough. Good, really good. It looks chunky and nasty. That's how it should look. Finish it by doing this method with pushing with the heel of your hand, and it only takes a couple of times. Okay, we're going to wrap all this up. Put this in the refrigerator, right. And we're going to get to our apple butter sugar mixture and stand these on end. You can probably do this in a cast iron pan too, but the copper always does the best job. All right, now we've got a finished Tatin here, and this is still a little bit hot. Well, it's cooling off now, but the pan is quite hot. Loosen up the edges. This crust is put on the top. After these apples are all finished, the crust is placed right over the top of these caramelized apples. And we're going to put this off to the side so you can see this throughout the show being cooked and the apples caramelizing. What happens is the apples release their juices. So the apple juice is released into the butter and the sugar, and you end up with an apple caramel. And show you what we have now. Something I want to show you that's kind of important when doing this, when finishing this up, is if you move this around, as I told you before, on the flame. And if you want to move it along, you can turn the flame up, but you have to be standing here because once all the water from the apples evaporates, you're going to be having way too much burning going on because now you just have the sugar left from the caramel. So keep turning this around, and that's how you get nice even browning. This is ready, and look inside at the color. This is what I call a cinnamon color, and that's my reference point, just cinnamon. And if it gets too dark, that's fine too. If you see a little spot where it burns, that's all going to disperse in the oven. So we'll have the crust. This is our pre-rolled crust. I need a little knife, a paring knife, and she's got it right out here. Great. Place this right on top. It's really hot, don't forget. Turn the crust over, and there's a little bit too much. Some of this can come off. And as I told you before, this is a rough crust, so it doesn't have to be anything but rough looking. It doesn't have to be real pretty and fluted like we did the others. And just turn this over like this. The story was, there are a lot of romantic stories about this tart, but the one that I liked was that the Tatin sisters saved their father's farm by making this tart and selling it throughout the village. So I thought that was the most romantic, but I've heard about 3 or 4 different tales. I'm sure one of them is true, but I'm not sure even which one. Whichever one sounds the best. All right, now this is going to go into the oven, so if you have a little burn spot on the bottom, or if it's not real dark, it'll darken up in the oven. The caramel keeps cooking. The reference point is when it's done is when this crust looked like the one that we turned out before. It should be very well baked. It should never be blonde because blonde crust tastes awful. It has no flavor. So we can go into the oven. Thanks, Paul. This is the tricky part. Pot holder. And it's perfect.